I used to get that a lot initially, especially from friends and family and well-wishers. Kya announcer banoge kya, you know? I mean, it's been an eventful career. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Brands, voices, branching out. But I think the most important thing is just to try and to be relevant.
Yeah, that
And you just in
$500
your-
bucks is a lot of money. Yeah.
Welcome to Creative Talkative with Ketki Tewary.
Yeah, we're creative and talkative. There's no stopping this, there's no topping this. Time to explain what's in our veins, what's in our minds. Take a peek into these lives. Yeah, we're creative and talkative. There's no stopping this, there's no topping this. Time to
Today on Creative Talkative, we are getting talkative with Hrishikesh Kannan. Popularly known as Hrishikesh, he is the producer and RJ on India's flagship daily morning radio show, Good Morning Mumbai on 94.3 Radio 1. He has been the channel voice for Zee, Star, Sony, Sony 6 and MTV, and the brand voice for several corporates and campaigns. His podcast, The Hrishikesh Sessions, is among the top on Amazon, Apple, Jio, Spotify and Ghana. Getting chatty with someone like that is as much fun as he is.
Hi guys, this is Creative Talkative with Ketki Tewary.
Hello.
My name is Hrishikesh and I'm here. I'm going to be your host. And my co-hosts are my lovely daughter Tiara and my other lovely daughter Ira. And you're in our house and you're going to find out lots and lots of things about me.
Hello, excuse me. What are you doing? This is supposed to be my part. I'm supposed to introduce you. You're the guest today.
You know how it is. No, this is called the gift of the gab, which cannot be turned off.
We couldn't have thought of a better introduction. The one and only Hrishikesh, the famous radio presenter, the award-winning Hrishikesh. I think you've been voice for every possible brand and every possible channel that we know. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an eventful career. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Brands, voices, branching out. But I think the most important thing is just to try and to be relevant. And I think that, if you ask me, is the biggest achievement. That, you know, the generations might have changed initials or might have changed alphabets. Gen Z, Gen X, millennials and things like that. But I've managed to stay relevant. And I think that is something I can pride myself on.
Apart from the fact that you're a very dear friend, I think you're, one of the most loved RJs, and now you create a lot of content apart from RJing. You have your own podcast show, which is called the Hrishikesh Sessions.
Yeah, and I'm also branched out. I do a fair amount of business content. One of my podcasts is on moneycontrol.com. I have another CEO podcast, which is on HT Smartcast. So again, I had a sports podcast which just got over, which is on Spotify. So yeah, one of the tricks of staying relevant is also to try and branch out into areas that you're first comfortable in, and then even areas that you're not comfortable in, because you that's the only way you can stay. You can keep learning, and I've always picked up new things, studied and learnt about stuff, which has helped me evolve.
Right. So let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
You started at a very young age. You were just 18 or even
17
younger.
actually,
17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And-
passed out of my 12th standard. Yeah.
And how come did you hear about this profession, or did you just kind of, knew that you wanted to do this? Because in those days, it's a very unconventional choice, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I wasn't a radio listener when I first got into radio. I was 17 plus. I had just finished my 12th standard and I had started working in a theatre group
Okay.
along with my FY of college. And one of the guys in the theatre group had turned around to me and said, "Look here, radio is about to start." So this friend said, they're testing and you'll get $500 a radio show if you get selected. So it's just crazy. I did it out of pure greed, because when you're 17 and a half,
Yeah, that
and you're just in
$500
your-
is a lot of money. Yeah.
And it started with greed, and then it just turned to pure love, and it became, in a lot of ways, a very spiritual experience. There's some things which genes do for you. My father has this wonderful natural baritone voice, and my father had nothing to do with the media, but he had this wonderful baritone. Where girls used to call home if they were classmates of mine, and he would pick up, and they would go, "Who is that?" And I'd go, "Shut up, that's my father." So I think genetically I got that. I don't even remember Ketki when my voice broke. I mean, I always remember it to be a little more mature than it was supposed to be for my age. So yes, I knew I had a decent voice, and I used it to great effect in elocution, in dramatics, in debating. And when I started hearing myself on the radio, I felt that there was a wonderful marriage between the microphone and me. I presumed that it was a marriage made in radio heaven. So yeah.
I remember when I was, just stepping foot in the industry, everyone would ask me, are you an English voicing artist or a Hindi one? And I would say that I'm also comfortable with Marathi and Gujarati, and they would be like, oh, can you speak it the way it has to be spoken, not just with the language? So I've heard your Hindi, and your Hindi is also fantastic.
I mean, I read Harishankar Parsai and, Ketki Tewary and all these, these legendary authors. I used to get a copy of the Bharat Times and read. And because I was just speaking Hindi all the time,
Right.
it's just, and I wanted to break that myth saying that, there's a South Indian guy who's gone to a public school and he's calm and he's very English speaking and things like that. But I think it's just a result of having traveled so much and, my father's job and having schooled in various parts of the country.
How difficult was it to convince them when you decided to get into radio? Because they must have had a lot of questions.
Oh, it was really difficult, very, very difficult. It was simply because they just couldn't fathom that there could be a profession in this.
Right.
The concept of being an RJ or a radio jockey happened only now. People say RJ, but
Yeah.
in Akashvani it was called an announcer.
Announcer, right? Right. Or presenter.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I used to get that a lot initially, especially from friends and family and well-wishers. Ki announcer banoge kya,
Haan.
Now, of course, it's very cool to say you're an RJ and a VJ and a podcaster and things like that. So it was very shocking for them, and they were pretty distraught initially. But I was extremely stubborn. I said, this is what I want to do. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. Like I said, that by the time that greed had already turned into a deep love.
Love.
So it just is very elementary. It just proves that if you do something with your heart, and even if you study something that you're already inclined towards, you'll do well. I mean, it's a
I can
no-brainer.
relate with that because I went through the exact same thing, right? So, business family, and then I said I want to do art, not arts. And people were hearing it for the first time, and if it wasn't for my dad, so that was the only chance I had. So he said, I will show you support, but if you don't make it, then here is a commerce form, because we come from a business family, you will fill this and you will join a commerce college. So let's talk about something called content creation, which is a very new sort of term, right? But I think you have been doing that for the last more than 3 decades now, correct? You are the
Absolutely.
first content creator in that sense. So I don't know of anyone who can keep doing this day in and day out for more than 30 years. So what inspires you, yeah?
I'm not going to say it has been easy. It has not been easy.
Certainly
the most
not.
difficult thing has been video content. And that also is the problem is with me. I'm very body conscious. And I think I had to get over being the biggest impediment in my own path. When I would look at myself in the mirror and say, oh my God, I'm looking fat. Or, do I have a double chin? Or am I too flabby and this and that? And then one fine day I just woke up and said, so what? I mean, if I am,
Correct.
I mean, that's not what I've been known for. If I'm able to stay relevant in people's lives, maybe I don't have to worry about that so much. I said, what's the other option? I mean, the other option is to starve myself, kill myself, become a gym beast, or do I have to work on my own mind? And obviously, the working on my own mind
Yeah.
turned out to be far better than becoming that other person, the whole other person.
When I was expecting, and I would do the afternoon show, which would end at 3 o'clock. And I remember one of the listeners once was just waiting. He said, "No, I'm very stubborn. I'm not going to go. I have to meet her." And then he saw me all pregnant and he got such a start. He was so heartbroken. He told me on my face that this is it. I'm not going to listen to your show ever again because I can't imagine that you are like going to be a mum. I thought you're this college going girl and
Yeah, I used to get that a lot. In pre-digital, pre-camera days, we used to think you're a guy with a long beard, like Gandalf.
Yeah.
We used to think you're much older than you are. With you
like
it was
that.
reverse.
It was
Because
reverse.
my voice had matured. By the time I was 17, 18 also, it was... In fact, I worked at a radio station where I used to do a show called Dial in Love. Where I was told by one of the managers saying, do not reveal your age on earth because, on air, because they will ask you about relationship problems and love problems.
Correct.
And if they're told that, there's an 18-year-old guy who's giving them advice, they might not take you seriously. You know what I mean? So the beauty now is, Ketki, that these things don't matter anymore.
They don't matter. Correct.
You can actually turn around and you see these so-called influencers. Of course, there are beauty influencers who are totally into the beauty aspect and, they've got to look all cool and wonderful.
I feel like theirs is even more tough what they're doing because they also show you what they look like without makeup.
True.
For that, you really need to have the guts to come and, show yourself like that. So you're right. It doesn't matter.
So I think I don't know when we'll reach the middle road. In India, it was always like that. Pehle chupa ke rakho, there's that. Now people
it's
are
the other
open
way.
and flaunting.
Love yourself the
And,
way you are.
flaunting it completely.
Yeah.
When the middle path will happen, nobody knows.
Nobody
But
knows.
everybody's just going with the flow. Also, once you get over that initial fear or phobia of how am I going to look in camera and how cool or uncool am I looking, then your second round is what should I be doing on camera?
Right.
Should it be an extension of my radio and podcast arm or should it be something radically
completely
different? Is another thing that people have to grapple with. And again, you have to have conversations with yourself and a few trusted people if you have. And then also go through the World Wide Web and see the amazing amount of content that's being put out to see where you fit in.
All radio jockeys did was tell the details of the song that played and talk about the song that's going to play. You were the one who brought all those changes and you said, no, let's talk about cars, let's talk about finance, let's talk about stand-up comedy. So when you did that, obviously, you must have got a lot of people who must have stood against you, your bosses, to begin with.
Huge opposition. Because, they were, like you said, nobody was used to any kind of content. It had to be, if you're a radio station, if you're a Hindi radio station, you talk in Hindi and you talk about the song or you crack a few jokes and you get on with it. If you're an English radio station, you have to be aspirational, very international. And some would even talk with an accent, and, get on with it and talk about English music. And content creation, I think about 11 years ago is when I said, this has got to change, man. And I said that each talk section is not a bridge into the next song. Each talk section is an opportunity to create content.
Fantastic.
And I used to get, literally trolled internally if there's something like that, if there's a terminology like that. When I said I want to do a car show, they said, but cars pagal ho gaya kya? It's a very, people see cars.
It's a very visual thing.
Technology car,
Yeah.
technology show, people want to see the phone.
Yeah.
So I said, no, radio is the theatre of the mind. Let them imagine it. And if you have a decent enough person who's talking about it with you, it'll work. Yeah, so I started a show in English where I would converse with movie stars, Bollywood movie stars, about what's on their playlist, international destinations they went to, just for people to understand that they're global citizens of the world, as opposed to just like aapka character kya role and things like that. It was called Platinum Class and it became incredibly successful. And I remember the sales guys at my team saying, why are you doing it only once a week? Why don't you do it 4 or 5 times a week?
Yeah.
I knew that we couldn't be as risky as stand-up comedians at nightclubs or performing spaces would be. But I said, how it would work is you get comedians in studio and you just do a conversation with the radio presenter. So I would just, converse with them.
Right.
Again, it met with opposition because they said, it's risky, kahin gali de diya, kya hua? I said, fine, we'll tape it. I won't go live.
And then I was told that, but women listen to this show. That just doesn't mean that she wants to only listen to Bollywood gossip, She wants to probably know what's happening, how to invest if she, if she had some money, what to do, or how to get back into shape, or what are the other things she can do with
You're
her
right,
time.
finance is a category that radio is not doing at all.
Absolutely,
Whether it's
yeah.
mutual funds or investment advice.
Yeah.
And now you see that a plethora of shows is
Yeah,
coming out.
yeah.
So I'm glad that people like you also paved the way.
So if I were to ask you, for the sake of people listening in, what are the different skill sets that one needs, or how different do you need to be a radio jockey or a live show host or to do video content creation?
Yeah, the fact that you have to be comfortable in your own skin is the commonality. So confidence and expressing yourself through words and actions is the commonality in all of them. Live events, you need tremendous amounts of physical energy
Right.
because it just saps the life out of you. So you have to be alert
Yeah.
physically as well as mentally.
Mentally, correct. Right. So you have to be super disciplined. What time do you wake up every morning?
Well, I'm up at 4:30, sometimes 4:45. I allow myself
Wow.
15 minutes more to toss and turn. So the first alarm is always 4:30 and 4:45. By about, quick jump into the shower, and by 5 I'm ready to work.
So what is your prep time like? So do you do you read a lot when you're traveling, or because you're
Constantly prepping.
You're
In fact,
constantly prepping, right?
You ask my wife this and she's like, do you ever switch off from your work? I mean, it's just constantly. Other people go through social media, on their phones, but I'm just constantly reading. I'm constantly Googling.
Because I follow you on Instagram and everywhere, and I see that I know you're doing your show in the morning, and then I see you interviewing and you're putting up stuff, and like you said, you're interviewing stars on one hand, on the other hand you're interviewing cricketers, and then you're hosting live events. How do you manage to do so much? As in,
there's one thing I think that I'm lacking in is sleep. I don't get to sleep very much.
Correct.
So an average day would be sleeping from 12 to 4:30, which is grossly underslept, is what all fitness gurus will tell
Correct,
you.
of course.
So even on those 2 days that I get to sleep in, I mean, I'll get maybe those days I'll get about 8 hours, but I'm up and I'm running again.
So we thought we'll do something fun with you, since you're the voice of God and you've done so many voiceovers. We thought we'll play a game, right? So this game has 2 parts. The first part is called Jazz It Up.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a few very everyday kind of things that we say to each other, and you are going to jazz it up, and you are going to say it as a voiceover artist. So the first one says, the flush isn't working, we need to call the plumber.
The flush isn't working, and we need to call the plumber.
बॉस 100 का चेंज नहीं है.
बॉस 100 का चेंज नहीं है.
भैया मेरा वाला तीखा बनाना.
भैया.
This is really funny.
भैया मेरा वाला तीखा बनाना.
I've never done this before. I have to say it's a very ingenious game. Yeah.
See? आगे चलो, पूरा बस खाली है बॉस.
आगे चलो, पूरा बस खाली है.
Alright. Now the second part, where I will give you the famous taglines and you will tune it down. So we call this tune it down.
Okay.
Okay? So the first one is, डर के आगे जीत है.
ये डर के आगे जीत रे.
जिंदगी के साथ भी, जिंदगी के बाद भी.
Yeah, in Hindi they say Zindagi ke saath bhi, Zindagi ke baad bhi. You're not understanding anything they say.
Anyway, speaking about Zindagi, what plans for Zindagi ahead?
To be Tiara Naira's father in the best possible manner that I can be. So that's definitely one goal. The other goal is to try and make lots of money so that they have a comfortable life.
That you're already doing.
And I just hope I never lose and I know I won't, but God forbid, I ever lose the zeal or the zest to keep learning. I mean, I just want to keep learning every single day of my life and take my career to the next level, try new things all the time. I have a deep sense of gratitude, and I like this. This is something that has been given to me. I'm doing what I love, and I have no business to complain.
Let us tell you what we wanna say. Not about just getting paid or achieving fame. It's about the everyday blood, sweat and tears, dreams and fears, everything you gotta hear. Listen, from the first steps to the final leap, making headlines in history. How they did it, it's no mystery. Take a seat, honestly. Yeah, we're creative and talkative. There's no stopping this, there's no topping this. Time for honesty with some novelty. Sit down with KT, you just hit the lottery.
Hope you had as much fun listening as we did talking. Do subscribe for updates on our upcoming episode out every Friday. Like, share and follow us on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram, as well as creativetalkative.com. That's creative with a K.